Hello everyone, I'm Katrina and today I'm going to be talking about my most disappointing reads of 2017. Now this isn't a worst books of 2017 video. For the most part, I think I rated these books between 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I did enjoy them. I didn't think they were terrible books. I didn't hate them, but I went in with certain expectations and those expectations just weren't met. So I'm going to be talking about those books today. And if I do mention any of your favorite books, I don't mean any offense. These are just my opinions. I went in thinking I would love these books more than I did, so I felt the disappointment. The first one I'm going to talk about is probably the most disappointing read because it is a sequel and I adored the first book. If you watched my favorite books of 2017 video, you may know which book I'm talking about, but that is The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Attier, and this is the sequel to The Wrath and the Dawn, which I rated 5 stars. It was one of my favorites of last year. I did a spoiler-free review. If you want to take a look at that, you can see me gush about the book in that review. This book as a sequel, but also an ending to a series because it is a duology, just fell really flat for me. I think because of the way that things ended in The Wrath and the Dawn, I was expecting a lot more action in this one, but it was just really slow paced. It kind of just chugged along when I was wanting more from the story, more from the pacing, maybe a little bit more from the characters as well. There are some things that happen in this book that I probably should have felt more emotionally, but I just felt so disconnected from everything and from the characters. I wanted to love it. I really did, especially after reading the first book, but it fell flat for me, which is really sad. The Queen of the Tearling by Erica J. Hansen. This is one that I went into thinking I would love. I'd heard some fantastic things about the book, so I went in with really high expectations, and I was left actually really disappointed. I gave it 3 stars, but I'm wondering if that was a little bit lenient now. Because thinking back on it, I can't remember what happens in this book. Like, there are a few things at the very beginning of the story, like opening chapter, that I have some vague recollections of. But the main chunk of this book, I don't really remember. The only things that I do remember happening within this story is how every time the main character meets another female, she either hates them, is intimidated by them, or focuses solely on their appearance. Like, I think she criticizes her mother a lot for taking care of how she looks, but I don't think she talks much about what her mother did as the queen, like in a political sense or anything. I think she's just constantly criticizing other women. It was just so negative in that aspect, which I found really irked me while I was reading it. Just all of the girl on girl hate or tension, even at the least, I just really didn't like. Aside from that, I don't really remember much about the book. I think it was kind of slow in pace. If it was really action-packed, I'm sure I would probably remember some more things that happened in the actual story, some more exciting things, but I think it must have been slow. And I couldn't tell you a single thing about the magic system. I don't know. I don't think it was really explained in enough detail how it all works. Okay, the next one is one that I know a lot of people love, especially Catty-tastic. So I'm sorry I didn't love it as much as you, because I know that she read this and then after finishing it immediately started rereading it. So because of that, I was so excited to pick this up. I thought I would fall deeply in love with it, and I didn't. And that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I still enjoyed this book. I found it to be a really enjoyable read, but I really thought I would love it, but I just liked it. Especially since I adored reading Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and although this isn't in any way like Fangirl, Carry On is Rainbow Rowell's interpretation of the story that Kath writes fanfiction for in Fangirl. But I did really enjoy the snippets of Kath's fanfiction that we saw in Fangirl. Some people didn't care for it. I really liked it. I was intrigued by it, so I was interested to see Rainbow Rowell's take on it. I think the thing that really hindered my enjoyment for this is that I couldn't get it out of my head that this was so similar to Harry Potter. It's meant to be really similar to Harry Potter. There are obvious parallels. In my head while I was reading it, I just couldn't stop drawing those parallels. When I saw a character name, I would immediately equate it to the Harry Potter equivalent. And all of these things, I couldn't turn that off in my brain. So as I was reading it, I was just overthinking while I was doing it. I couldn't just immerse myself in Carry On and let it carry me away on its story. So whilst I was disappointed, I'm not putting it down entirely to the book. I do think that the timing wasn't the best for when I read this. I don't know, maybe I just wasn't in the best state of mind when reading this one. So I do think at some point in the future I might consider rereading this. Having already experienced the book, I think that a second time I could actually just enjoy it for what it is, and hopefully my brain will turn off and stop making those comparisons to Harry Potter. Because I don't have a problem with it being similar to Harry Potter. That was one of the appeals to me. I was really excited about it for that fact. I don't know. Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Now, I was so excited about this one because I am a huge fan of the Lunar Chronicles, and in particular, I really enjoyed Fairest, which is kind of the prequel. You get to know the story behind Queen Levana's upbringing, how she became the woman that she is, the villain rather, that she is. So I was really intrigued by Heartless. I was excited for it because it's the Queen of Hearts backstory. You get to see her as she was younger, before she was the Queen of Hearts, and what caused her to become the villainous woman that she is in Alice in Wonderland. I really didn't love it, and I thought I would, and I was so excited about it, so it was a bit of a letdown. I listened to the audiobook of Heartless, and I don't think it had much of an effect on my enjoyment, to be honest, but just thought I'd mention it in case that might be a factor. The main things that I took issue with was I found it to be relatively slow-paced, particularly towards the beginning. I really didn't care for the romance in this book, and the romance is present throughout the majority of the story, so just me not caring about it for so long, it didn't help with my enjoyment. And I also found that the character that we are introduced to, Catherine, and the idea of the Queen of Hearts that we know from all of the stories we've seen before, they're just so very, very different. And I found the transition between the two, the events that led up to Catherine becoming the Queen of Hearts, I didn't entirely believe. I think that there could have been more done to develop Catherine's character earlier on in the story. There could have been seeds planted earlier on to show hints of her character that could reasonably cause her to become this woman, the Queen of Hearts. It's such a strong contrast in my head that I didn't entirely believe that switch. It's like two different people. So Heartless I definitely had more problems with. I just didn't really care for a lot of it. And that was really sad for me just because of how much I loved the Lunar Chronicles. The last book that I'm going to be talking about is one that I read on my Kindle and I didn't love it enough to pick up a physical copy, and that book is The Seafarer's Kiss by Julia Ember. So this is a book that I read for the Buy New Bibliothon book club. I was involved in the live show, so if you want to know a little bit more about the other Buy New Bibliothon girls' thoughts and some more spoilery discussions, I will have that linked down below if you guys are interested. Fair warning though, after the introductory part of that live stream we do go into all of the spoilers, but this one appealed to me so much. It's a reimagining of The Little Mermaid with a female-female romance that I was all for. I was so ready for it. First of all, the length. I believe that this was originally written as a short story that was then expanded into a novel, and I think that it could have still been expanded still. I don't think it's a very long novel, but I think it could have had an extra 50 to 100 pages potentially. I just found that the pacing was a little too fast. We didn't have enough time to savor some of the action, and because of that we don't have a lot of time to see this female-female romance develop. It does happen kind of quickly, and there is some other problematic things with the romance as well. There's some physical violence which isn't really addressed in the book and just pushed under the rug, and I was like, just because they're both women, that does not mean violence is okay. So those are the two major things that I took issue with The Seafarer's Kiss that really hindered my enjoyment of the book. If this book had been a little bit longer, I think I would have loved it so much more than I did. It would have been so nice to really have the time to connect to the characters, to explore the world a little bit more, to savor the romance, the blossoming romance, and to just, with the action scenes, to just flesh them out a little bit more. Not have them slow. I don't like slow action scenes, but in the book they're kind of glided over. I felt like I was missing out on a lot. So overall I did find myself disappointed just because I was so excited about the book. Little Mermaid plus female-female romance, like I was there. I was so ready for it, but the execution just left me wanting more. So those are the top 5 books that I found to be disappointing in 2017. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have read any of the books that I mentioned, I would definitely like to know your thoughts on them. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I would like to know your thoughts. But that is all that I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you very soon in a new video, but until then, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye!